proclamation of the Board of Commissioners of San Miguel County, Colorado, honoring George and Gay Cappis for their extraordinary contribution to San Miguel County. And I don't know what number it'll be, but whereas George and Gay Cappis were legendary in Telluride. Gay moved to Telluride with her family in 1936 and George in 1938. They were high school sweethearts and married for 65 years.
Whoa.
Whereas George began working at the Liberty Dorado mine while still in high school. He enlisted in the Navy in 1943 and worked on the Liberty ship in the South Pacific. He returned in 1945 and went back to work for the Dorado Mining Company, where he worked for 54 years. He held the first veteran service officer position for San Miguel County, helping veterans for over 30 years. Whereas Gay began working for the San Miguel County Clerk in November of 1952 as a typist. There's an old thing there. She was appointed deputy clerk in 1964 and then appointed county clerk in 1970, a position she held until her retirement in 2002. During her tenure, she saw many changes in the county clerk's office. When she began, everything was recorded by hand. At the end of her career, she implemented a brand new computer system. And whereas Jim Bodenhagen, County Veteran Service Officer, 2005 to current, described the Cappises by saying George and Gay Cappis were the definition of public servants and community spirit. They loved Colorado, these mountains, and this county. Their work for San Miguel County demonstrates that love. And whereas many citizens of San Miguel County remember Gay's bright smile and cheerful demeanor and George's steadfast support. Now therefore be it resolved that the citizens of San Miguel County would like to honor George and Gay Cappis for their long-lasting and amazing contributions to this county. Their hard work and dedication will not be forgotten. This will be done and approved by the board next week, July 20th, at our regular meeting.
Long ago, we had one TV station, sort of. It was a repeater on top of the mountain, and George, every week before the World Series started, he needed more funds.
25 years he just gave that.
25 years.
Wow.
Yep.
And the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
And the Super Bowl.
then he threatened to cut it off.
Yeah.
And then we all gave him money.
Power.
Something like that. Trying to feel like
It
your body.
worked great.
Yeah.
My name's Jim Bodenhagen. I'm the County Veteran Service Officer. It was in the 1990s that George approached us veterans and asked us to march in the 4th of July parade. And he always gave me the Navy flag because I had my dress blues uniform. In 2005, he resigned his position at the county. I was asked to apply, and I've been there ever since. He taught me pretty much everything I know about San Miguel County's veterans and Norwood veterans, and he understood, the community very well.
A friend of mine came and said, "Why don't you teach Gay to drive? Because she'll be in Montrose. You used to drive when she was young, and being in Montrose, she may need a car." So I went over, and they were all excited about it. So I came, and then Gay got hesitant, and I'm dangling the keys. Don't you want to learn? And George said, "Go on, Gay, go on." So it was off season. There was nobody in town, and we drove up and down Colorado Avenue. Well, just before we were almost finished, she did really, really well. And the reason I took her is I had a small car, and we thought a little Corolla would be something she could handle. So just as we're driving back, this police car drives by, and we both go, "Ah!" And so that was it. Then I took her home, and I told my son, I said, "Oh," because she didn't have a permit to drive, and and he looked at me and said, "Mom, nobody would give Gay a ticket."
So true. Judy Kiernan.
Thank you.
I had to leave town for a few years in the early 80s, go back east for cancer treatments, and I re-registered my car back there. And when I came back to Telluride in 85, I went to Gay and I said, "God, I need to get my Colorado registration back." but I'm so sad that I won't get YX plates. She said, well, do you still have them? I said, yeah. She said, are they in good shape? I said, yeah. She said, put them on.
We were having a housewarming, a little house that we'd been working on for 10 years down in Ames, and so we decided time for a party, and sure enough, Gay and George show up, and it happened to be our wedding. We got married that morning but didn't tell anybody other than our mothers, and and George and Gay came, and she said, well, I didn't issue you a license. And I said, yeah, we picked it up in Boulder so nobody would know. And she got really mad, as mad as Gay ever gets, and gives me a big hug. And they gave us this wonderful Indian vase with the dual stems, the matrimonial vase, and we still have it. It's one of our prized possessions.
So it all starts at that window where the air conditioning is. 1977. I was Damo Swartz as a kid. I'm Damian Alexander now. But I was stealing some candy from Sunshine, also from Roses in the same short period, and was expelled from them for a month. And I had a sugar addiction. And Dylan Brooks said, I know what we're going to do. He goes, come jump up on this window. And Gay handed us candy. And I probably got candy from that window every day after school for 12 years. And I've got some Jolly Ranchers over here because Gay would want you all to have a piece of candy. And, George in the parades and giving us mine tours when we were kids. They're the Telluride that I know and love from the 70s, and just lovely and wonderful to see all you here today.
Had a knee reconstruction, so I'm in the full brace. It was 4 months of non-weight bearing, and July 4th comes up, and George invites me and Gary to go up on the tailings pile, and it was just the four of us, just George and Gay and me and Gary, and it was so special. And then I remember telling people after that, and everybody's like, nobody gets invited up there. You got the special, and it really was a special. It was an amazing spot to watch the fireworks, and it was a special night with George and Gay up on the tailings pile. So, 1985, it's a good one.
20 years I was sheriff. My office was down the hall from Gay, and she was always just a wonderful girl. And there's no bad stories, unlike the rest of us in the courthouse. It was pretty tame in the clerk's office, but she was always such a perfect lady, and it was a pleasure to be your neighbor in professional office for so many years.
And she was really a public servant in the true sense of that word. Mm-hmm. What I loved and what I learned in politics was to serve the people. And what she did was, she wouldn't break the law, but she would bend the law as much as you could to help the people. So she bent the law to the people instead of bending people to the law. And that was my motto throughout my 20 years in county government and her 50 years. We're so lucky to have such an incredible model at Gay Cappis.
Yes. Yeah.
I married into the family, so I didn't meet George and Gay until the early 90s. And what an amazing family to marry into, right? So I knew them personally, whereas a lot of these stories are professional, especially with Gay. But one thing that stood out to me, there's lots, but one thing about George, I too remember the parades, and he invited us to come with them one year and help put up all the flags on Main Street. And to my knowledge, that was just a volunteer position that he just did, but he took so much pride in it. And it was really special to get to be a part of that with him.
Because my first day at work underground, May 5th, 1975, George was the one who gave me the tour. And at that time, there was an animosity between some of the miners and the newcomers. And, but like you say, your folks never had any of that animosity. They welcomed everybody as just unique, and they were interested in everyone.
So George takes me on a tour underground, and you know, some of the miners, most of the miners didn't even want women under there. And some of them were rude, some of them just ignored me, but George was always just this sweetest gentleman, you know, and also with his little sense of humor, you know, but in a fun way, not a put down kind of humor that some people have. His was always just like a quirk, or, you know, like he used to do this little thing to my nose, you know, I don't want to do that to other people. And then later on, when he went to kind of manage Pandora, I mean, he did I didn't live in Pandora, but had many friends. And I mean, it's just unending, the favors he did, the help he gave. He was sort of the PR face for Idorado. You know, when people would complain about the mine, it'd be, yeah, but look at George, you know. So I was a young girl and naive, and he really took me under his wing and, you know, made the job enjoyable, sort of.
My observation over the last couple of months has been service doesn't end with your job. So even though she was in community service and George served, I can remember growing up going from a hard rock mining town to a biker town to a ski town to a destination resort, and I never once saw them fail to find a way to meet the needs of the people that came through here, no matter who they were, no matter what their value system was. They seemed to see people as people, and they tried to pass that on to everybody that they touched. And I used to think it's like they were teaching us all the time because we got to hear it all the time, but I'm listening and I'm hearing everybody say, it's like, no, we all got that message. And I think that's probably one of the biggest legacies that I can think of. They came from a period of time when the only way to survive was to work together and to take care of each other, and they did that, and then they continued to do it even when people might have thought, I don't need that anymore, you know, needs. And I think that's quite a legacy for all of us to try and continue to carry on in this town, especially because it has the ability to care in a way that other places don't. So please, if I'm asking anything of everybody here, it's carry that legacy forward. You don't have to attach the Cappis name to it, just attach the town and Telluride to it, and just carry it forward so that people know this is a place that changes people for the better.
Here, here.
And being able to do things like that, and Gay as well, is like, they were probably the original social networkers, right?
Yeah,
like,
that's true.
They kind of made their way
Good
through
point.
in town with lots of relationships in ways that you couldn't. And we were having a family conversation one time, and we as kids, when we were running around here as our grandkids at a young age, when the bikers were all here, people were like, were you not afraid? And it was like, the grandparents were like, no, because we hear all about what our grandchildren are doing every day from the guys who are on the street. So apparently we were never safer than when the bike was on the street.
I feel like I'm channeling Diane Fisher because I can't believe that nobody here mentioned Gay's hair. And every morning started at the beauty parlor, and there's probably no one who knew Gay as well as Diane. I know some of her comments on Facebook and other people who really wish they could be here, but oh my God, her hair was perfect as every day.
And she was always beautifully dressed.
Perfect.
Yeah. The picture inside is in a red jacket and always perfect.
So even after she moved to Texas, family made sure she had her weekly hair appointment.
Excellent.
And she was still impeccably dressed, but a little more cooler. Like she'd clean it up immediately, and still to this day. So her great grandkids now even will say, "Oh, we've been grannied." Like, you know, you put your glass down and someone takes it and puts it in the sink or whatever. Oh, you've been grannied, and it's back to Gay, and so just a sweet story from them. Yeah.
Memory.
Oh, when I got married to Jeannie Buck, we went in to get our wedding license, and Gay says, I'm going to buy your wedding license. And we said, well, thank you, Gay, but why? And she says, I'll show you. And she took us into the vault, and there in 1905 was my grandmother and grandfather getting married in Telluride.
Wow.
And she says, I wanted you in the book. Because we're going to retire the book.
Oh, that's amazing.
You know, every time you go into her office, she's just cheerful and happy, and it just made me smile every time I had to deal with her. So she's an awesome person. I didn't know George that well, but again, steadfast and a huge partner for Gay, and I think the two of them were just amazing for our community.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, I love that George started his skiing career when he retired.
Excellent. Nice, thanks.
I remember we're Gay Cappis and my uncle Vern Ebert went and actually got some rifles actually from I think it was the Colorado National Guard out of Grand Junction for the vets that actually march in the parade up here.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, pretty neat they got that for Telluride.
Such a good gathering. We're so glad that we could do this for the family and for Gay and George. I don't know if we have any closing, but I know that we should send off with a huge round of applause and maybe some shouts up there, because they were just so special and they will be remembered for hopefully forever, because they huge impact on this county and I think each and every one of our hearts. Thank you so much. All right.